Hello, this is George Cunningham, School Counselor Coordinator for Hampton High School, and I'm going to spend some time talking about uh, important elements that parents and students need to be aware of as you're transitioning from middle school to high school, or if you've already been in high school for a couple years or a year. We're going to touch on some elements to help you understand better how students, first and foremost, graduate from school, and then just talk about different concepts like grade point average. We're going to talk about course credits. We're going to also talk about um, verified credits likewise. But to start off, I wanted to start from the Hampton High School page because much of the information that I will be sharing actually comes from this page or is linked from the Hampton High School site. So if you go to the school counseling tab, the first thing that I want to discuss is high school graduation and how a student goes through their 4 years here at Hampton, completes their coursework, pass their SOLs, and move on to other things once they graduate. Now, if you go to the graduation tab, it'll take you to this page, and you'll see some other links. We're going to start with the standard diploma, and this opens up a page from the Virginia Department of Education. And we're going to spend our time talking about this little grid here in regards to what students need in order to graduate. Well, as you can see, first and foremost, students need 4 years of English. And we're looking here at this middle grid because most students that are here, well, students who are here now fall under this particular one because this is for first-time ninth graders who started in 11-12. And of course, we're just beyond that at this point. So students will take English each year for the standard diploma. They do need to have 3 credits in math. Now, the way math works for Hampton City Schools, even though students only need 3 different maths, they will be required to take math all 4 years. So in other words, if like you have a child that started Algebra 1 because that's the first math that you would take for high school credit, they could have started that in middle school. So they would just begin with geometry in their 9th grade year as they arrive as a freshman. Then they would take Algebra 2 in their sophomore year, or they can opt to take Algebra Functions and Data Analysis, which also qualifies as a 3rd math. But even though they would have earned their 3 credits by the end of their 10th grade year, we have students take math their entire time in high school. The main reason for that is, especially for students who are considering college as a possible choice once they graduate from high school, colleges are going to want to see that they have continued taking math. But even for those students who elect to go a different route and they want to either go directly into the workforce, the military, go into an apprenticeship program perhaps, or a trade industry, math is just as important for those students as well. And so we find that students who continue to take math end up being much more college and career ready by the time they graduate from high school. Now, following the math, 3 credits in math that's required, students will be required also to take 3 years of a science. And science is a tricky one because the rule is they must take at least 2 different sciences from 2 different families. And the 3rd science can be a choice that is existing in one of the 2 families they already taken. So for instance, a student would normally here at Hampton High start out taking biology. And then from biology, they would go on to either chemistry or earth science. And I say either because depending on the math the student is enrolled in determines a great deal as to which science they go to. And students who are accelerated in math tend to go to chemistry next. Students who take earth science can go to chemistry in their junior year, and if they elect, or if they are wanting to take ecology or oceanography, which both of those sciences either belong to the biology or earth science family, they can do so, and that would count as their third science. So again, two different sciences plus a third science, which can be different, or it can belong to either biology or earth science. Following science, a student will also have 3 years of social studies. So students will typically begin in their freshman year taking World History 1, and they will move on to taking the U.S. History and Government in their senior year. They won't be required to have a social studies in their sophomore year if they're going for standard diploma. Only students going for advanced diploma. Now, students who are we'll talk about the advanced diploma in just a second, but if you hear the drums in the background, it's just compliments of our Hampton High School band. They're leading some pep rallies in the cafeteria for our students as they begin taking their SOL starting tomorrow for term grads. Now, falling under this social studies, students will also be required to pass 2 years of health and PE. They'll take health and PE 1 in their 9th grade year, health and PE 2 in their 10th grade year. And in the 10th grade year is when they get the driver's ed, which is a component of their first semester health. So health and PE. We do have a few students who continue to have to take either health or PE in their junior and senior year because they do not pass during their first 2 years in high school. If you pass, then you're done. You don't have any more health and PE. And the main reason that we have students who are still having to take health or PE or both in their junior and senior years because of non-participation. The way PE works in today's time is much different than when I took PE. There are no skills tests. The tests that are the goal of PE or physical education at this point is just to inspire students to be active and to be aware of their physical fitness. And it's more about physical well-being as opposed to, who can shoot the most baskets at any given time. It's just not like that anymore. So as long as students dress out, participate, go to health when they're supposed to take health, keep up their notebook, complete all assigned work, they're going to get right through both health and PE with no problems. Now, the next criteria you'll see here, we're going down to foreign language, fine arts, or career and technical education. Now, or is the operative word because many 8th graders believe that they are supposed to pass or take a foreign language in order to graduate from high school. And actually, a student going for the standard diploma does not need to pass a foreign language in order to graduate. That's because the student can get 2 credits in a fine art, or they can get 2 credits in a career technical education course. And all of our electives fall under either one of these 2 categories, or of course we have foreign language, the French, German, Latin, and Spanish. So students do not need a foreign language in order to graduate from high school. The next requirement is a course called Economics and Personal Finance. This is a course that they will end up taking in their junior year, 11th grade year, and they will also be taking 2 different tests. One is the WISE or financial literacy, and then we have another test called the workplace readiness. And these are tests that help students earn what's called an industry certification, and that is another requirement for graduation. Students must pass at least one of those tests that they will end up taking in their junior year for graduation purposes. Also, they will continue on with taking many other electives, and by the end of their 4th year, they should have accrued at least 22. And if you think about it mathematically, we have 8 blocks. If you think of students, and we'll talk about credits more specifically, what that means in just a second, but just kind of stay with me on this one. If students earn or pass all of their classes, they take 8 classes every year, and for every class they earn a credit, then if you multiply 8 classes times 4 years, you'll actually get 32 credits. So students who end up graduating typically have more than 22 if they're passing all their coursework as they go from their 9th grade year all the way through their 12th grade year. Now, I don't want to forget to talk about another very important element to graduation, and that's the verified credit. Now, a verified credit means that the student has passed both semesters of a end of course class, and they've passed the SOL for that class. So when a student takes the writing SOL in their 10th grade year, and then they pass the 10th grade English both semesters, they will earn 1 verified credit. Likewise, when they take the end of course reading SOL in their 11th grade year, pass that both semesters of that class, pass the SOL, they will earn an additional verified credit, bringing that tally to 2. Students must also earn a verified credit in math, and that could be either in Algebra 1, Geometry, or Algebra 2. They must earn 1 verified credit in science. That could be either biology, earth science, or chemistry. And students have to earn at least 1 verified credit in social studies. And that can either be world history, world history 2, or U.S. history. And finally, they must have earned 1 additional SOL, a student selected, meaning they pass an additional math or science or social studies, bringing the total to 6 SOLs. Now, I remind all 9th graders, and when I speak to 8th graders, that if you come into your 9th grade year, do what you need to do, be in school, complete your assigned work, study for your upcoming quizzes and tests. Then you pass the SOLs that you're in your 9th grade year. Typically, students are taking a biology, a world history, and of course a math, whatever math that may be, Algebra 1 or geometry, depending on what they took in middle school. Students can earn up to 3 verified credits just in their first year in high school. And so if the total is 6 SOLs they must earn, that means that they're already halfway there as far as what is required for graduation. So we really encourage students, especially students who are entering the 9th grade, to really hit the ground running so that they can be ahead of the game by the time they get to their senior year. Now that's what's required for the standard diploma. Now we have another diploma, the advanced diploma, that is a lot like the standard diploma, but I'm just going to highlight the differences. The differences you will find are in math, science, social studies, the foreign language, which changes the number of course credits they earn, and you're going to see some additional requirements for a verified credit, bringing the tally to 9. Now, first and foremost, for math, they have to have 4 maths. They have to have, Algebra 1, geometry, algebra functions and data analysis, or Algebra 2, and then a 4th math, or they can take Algebra 2 and AFTA. That would count as their 3rd and 4th math. Science, this is where students tend to, take their biology, then chemistry, then they choose either to go into physics or they take our science, and then their 4th science is their choice from amongst a number of different sciences that belong to those same families, like oceanography, ecology, or physiology. That would be their 4th science. And for social studies, remember I back with talking about the standard diploma, students didn't have to take a social studies, in their 10th grade year. Well, students going for an advanced diploma would take a social studies like World History 2 in their 10th grade year, and then move on to U.S. history and government in their 11th and 12th grade year. Now, also, we talked about foreign language. Now, we said at standard diploma, students are not required to pass a foreign language, or to take a foreign language, I should say, to graduate from high school. But in the advanced diploma, students are required to have 3 years of one language or 2 years of 2 different languages. So that's a really big difference between the advanced and the standard. You'll see a lot of the similarities here. Health and PE, the English is the same. They still take economics and personal finance. They're earning 4 electives. And they are also, of course, that total of course credits ends up being 26. But as I pointed out, the standard diploma, if they pass all their classes all 4 years, they can end up as high as having 32, even more than 32 credits based on what they took as far as high school credit in middle school. Which brings us to this final column as far as verified credits. Students have to have an additional math, science, and social studies. That, of course, brings the tally to 9 because they still need just 2 in English, just like the standard, and they still need 1 student selective. So they're either going to pass an additional math, an additional science, or an additional social studies. All in all, if a student passes every SOL that they have taken, they will earn up to 11 verified credits. And so students only need 9 for the standard diploma. So why would a student choose between the standard or advanced? Typically, we encourage students who are considering going to college after high school graduation to take the advanced. Main reason for that is because the advanced diploma is the more rigorous diploma that we offer, and colleges are looking for students to take rigorous coursework to prepare them and get them college ready. So once they graduate high school and enter college, they'll be more prepared to handle the caseload or course load, I should say, once they begin their college education. Now, does that mean a student who takes or who earns a standard diploma can't get into a 4-year college? And no, the students who go for a standard diploma can certainly get into a 4-year college degree program. The advanced diploma just simply increases the competitiveness of a student's record in regards to once they apply to college, because they're now demonstrating that they have taken rigorous coursework and are prepared to go to college. And if they're applying to a very selective university or college, the advanced diploma just simply helps them in that way. Now, in talking about the graduation requirements, I also want to highlight how a student goes from being a 9th grader to a 10th grader, so forth and so on. So if I click on this promotion policy, this is the way we this is how we are as counselors, this is what we look at in order to determine if a student is going to be promoted or retained. And it's kind of broken down into increments of course credits and verified credits to help the student pace themselves. So by the time they get to their senior year, they have what they need for the most part and don't have to double up and take a lot of different courses that they haven't passed or haven't taken. So the first year, 9th grade, if you look at right up here, students must earn 5 credits, and they must earn, that's course credits, and students must also earn a verified credit. So let's talk about credits as well. A credit is what a student earns when they have completed first semester and second semester of a given course. If they only complete, let's say for instance, the first semester of English 9, but they don't pass second semester of English 9, well, they've only earned 0.5 credits, a half a credit. So you pretty much, you're getting a half a credit for each semester. Only exception to that would be for students who are taking a double block math, like double block algebra or double block geometry. Those, since they're going to that class every day, they actually get 1 entire credit per semester. And likewise, for any student who takes a New Horizons technical course, that's a course offering available to juniors and seniors. They can get they receive a 1.5 credits for each semester. But for the most part, classes only are only assigned a 0.5 as far as credits per semester. So students must pass both semesters of their English class. And of course, the main reason for putting English as the main requirement is for promotion is because, of course, students need 4 English credits by the time they graduate from high school. They also must pass an additional core credit. So that could be in their science, their social studies, or math. Students must also earn 3 other credits. That could be their electives, health or PE, the other core classes that they took as well, all of that equaling 5 credits. And finally, students, when they take their SOLs in May for that year, they must earn 1 verified credit. That means that they passed the both semesters of a particular end of course class, and then they pass the SOL. So if a student does all that, by the time they finish their first year in high school, they can be promoted to grade 10. But let's talk about, just in case a student doesn't earn all of what they need in order to be promoted. So let's just say a student doesn't pass an SOL, or doesn't pass any of the SOLs. That means that when they come back as a second year student, they will still be listed as a 9th grader. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me tell you what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that now the student has to repeat all the classes they already passed. In fact, in high school, you only have to repeat the semester of any given core class that you don't pass. So let's say, for instance, going back to my example with English 9, if a student didn't pass second semester English 9, they would only have to repeat the second semester of English 9. If they've already passed first semester, that just they don't have to retake that. That is a big difference between middle school and high school. The other thing is, going back to the original example, or the second example, I should say, the not earning a verified credit, students will go on in their second year to their 10th grade coursework. They may still be listed as a grade 9 student, but they are still tracked as a second year high school student going to graduate with their class. They're just going to be they're just going to have to retake those SOLs in order to earn a verified credit. And we do offer many opportunities during the course of the school year, not just at the end, for students to earn that verified credit. So they will go on and take their English 10 in their 10th grade year. They would take their second math. They would take their second social studies and science. As long as they, pass in those classes from their 9th grade year, they go on and take the next level. If they don't, then they sometimes we have to double students up in certain courses. We typically try to stay away from math in regards to doubling students up if they were unsuccessful their first year, just to give them a head start without having to crunch too much as far as math's concerned. But for the most part, students will continue on, and once the student passes their SOL during the course of the school year of their second year, and they pass it, they earn that verified credit, they're automatically promoted at that point. So they're going to be listed as a grade 10 student. And as you can see here, students have to earn 10 credits, and that's not 10 additional on top of 5. That's 10 credits including those 5 credits. So this is a culminating number. This is not adding on to in addition to what they earned as a 9th grader. So they already have 5 of the credits. They just got to earn 5 more to get the 10. And likewise with 16 credits, they have the 10 credits from their 10th grade year. They need 6 more credits to be a junior. And the same goes for the verified credits. They have to earn 2. Already earned 1 as being a 9th grader going to 10th grade. They have to pass another SOL. And to be a senior, you have to pass 2 additional SOLs, giving you 4 verified credits. So that's how promotion works. Now, another concept for high school that students learn is the idea of a grade point average. And this is our grading scale that was implemented in 2012 and 2013. Shows the breakdown of each of the letter grades with the numerical score ranges to show what they would get if they received a 87 to an 89 to be a B plus. So forth and so on, with the lowest grade that they can earn for credit is a 64. Anything below a 64, a student would not earn the credit. And this is good where the GPA comes into play. Students earn, after they earn their credit, or I should say half a credit, at the end of every semester, once they've shown that they passed the course, they are awarded a grade point average for that course. So if I'm taking biology and I earn a 94 for for first semester, which basically first semester is composed of quarter one, quarter two, and the exam. And I earned a 94. That means for biology, I earned a 4.0, which is an A, for that class. And then your other classes are done the same way. The GPAs are then of each class are added by the computer, divided by the total number of classes that you took, and then you're given your cumulative GPA based on that first semester of ninth grade year, which is the overall GPA based on all the classes. Then second semester, the same thing happens. You take all your classes, you pass the third, fourth quarter, and the exam. You get a GPA assigned to that class, and then that you get there's a semester GPA for that, but then you ultimately get a cumulative GPA by the combination of all your first semester scores as well as your second semester. Now, to help illustrate, to help illustrate how grades are calculated, let's see. I'm going to take you to a screen. I got to find a white screen here. All right. Just wait for this to come up. All right, so if we have quarter one, quarter two, exam. We're going to look at go through a scenario if a student had passed all their or whatever kind of scores they get for each quarter. We're going to calculate them into a semester grade, just so you understand the process. So we're going to say the first quarter, student they had a difficult time in transition from quarter one. They ended up earning a 62. Quarter two, they had a better time. Things started to click for them, and they ended up earning an 81. And in exam grade, likewise, they continued to do well, and so they earned a 87. And so basically what you have here, if you go back to our grading scale, you see that students, let's see if I can get this to cooperate with me. Well, not going to work. A 62 is actually an F, and 81 is a B minus, 87 is a B plus. So we have to change these scores into a raw score so we can calculate their semester score. So let's see if I take that off again. Oh, there we go. I'll pull up my calculator as well. That will help us figure all this stuff out. So 62, each of the quarter grades are worth 40%, and the exam is worth 20%. So if you take 62 and you multiply that by 0.4, because we're changing the 40% to a decimal form, and then you're given a 24.8, we'll write 24 82.8. That's for first quarter. And then you have an 81. Likewise, you're going to multiply that by 0.40. That's going to give you 32.4. I'm sorry about my handwriting. I'm actually writing this with my fingers, so handwriting's not looking too sharp here. And then, of course, we're going to take the exam grade, and the exam grade is 20%, so we'd multiply that by 0.2. 87 times 0.2, and that's going to give us 17.4. So we take the 17.4, we're going to add the 32.4, and we're also going to add the 24.8, which is going to give us a 74.6. Now, looking at the transcript supplement, which I know looks a little messy now with all the writing on it, but the let's see, a 70, let's see, what was that, a 74.6, that's going to be a C right here. So even though the students started off, shaky with a 62, which is an F, they brought it up their second quarter, they passed their exam, we converted all those numbers to raw scores, and that gave us the semester grade of a 74.6, which is a C. And so it's still possible for students to graduate when they have a rough time at the very beginning. So let me see if I can unclear all this stuff off. Here we go. Take this off of drawing mode. Put that back there. All right. And take this calculator. That's basically how the grades are calculated. Same process goes for every semester. And remember, the semester is the only time that a student actually earns the credit, or half a credit, that goes towards graduation. Let's see. So at this point, we've talked about the standard diploma, the advanced diploma. We've talked about promotion policy, and we've talked about how a student can calculate their semester grade based on 2 quarter grades, whether it's first and second or third and fourth, and their exam. So beyond that, academically, that is what high school is about. When we're just talking about completing our coursework and moving on towards graduation. But we also encourage students to consider joining a club under the Clubs and Activities tab. Research shows that students who also not only work hard in class, but they join a club or an athletic team and become basically a part of the community within their high school, tend to do very well in high school. And so we definitely encourage students to consider joining a club. Helps students make friends, establish a network, especially when you need that support when you're taking some rigorous coursework and you need some extra help. It's always good to have friends as well as teachers that you bonded with while you have joined these extracurricular activities. And it also does speak to helps you when it comes to enrolling in college, because on your college application, they are going to ask you, were you involved with any clubs? Were you involved with any athletics? Did you try out to be a class officer, or did you do any volunteer work? This is all part of the high school experience, and we want students to feel connected to Hampton High and know that each one of us are here for your child's betterment and to help them proceed on as they continue towards adulthood and the ending of their compulsory education requirements. As before, please don't hesitate to contact your child's school counselor should you have any questions. I appreciate your attention to this video, and I hope you found the information helpful. Please don't hesitate to contact me should you have any questions about this video or anything specifically about high school. If I don't have the answer, I will go find the answer and definitely get that back to you. Thank you, and see you soon.